You are watching
Trinity Episcopal School Production Network. TESPN.
All right, really excited for this week's TESPN Podcast. We've got basketball players, senior Alex Chaikin and junior Mason Patrick. And I think we had both you all on last year for a podcast as well together. So great to have you guys back for a second time. Alex also appeared on our season preview. So you hopefully getting used to seeing his face. Opponents have been getting used to seeing his face, putting up points against them. In fact, 1,000 points now in your Trinity career. You just surpassed that, I think, last week. And obviously a lot of hard work goes into being a 1,000-point scorer, and it puts you in a pretty elite, exclusive club. So just what does that mean to you, Alex, to have crossed that threshold of a 1,000-point high school score?
Yeah, it's definitely been a goal of mine since I transferred here. For a lot of players, I think it is. And I don't know, I think it makes me feel proud of the work I put in. A lot of hours in the gym, and then to get where I'm at now, it feels good.
And quick follow up on it too. So I remember when we hosted Benedictine, I guess that was a little over a week ago. It feels longer now, but going into that game, I was told you needed 26 in that game. You probably knew that as well. You didn't quite get there. I think you ended up with 19 that night. But was that in your mind during the game?
Honestly, it wasn't. I think I was just too into the game, into the atmosphere. But after that, I thought about it a little bit. Our game versus Woodbury got canceled because of the snow. I was thinking maybe I could hit it against Collegiate or Benedictine, but ended up hitting it a little bit later.
And Mason, for you, obviously you've got the rest of this season left. I think there's, as we sit here and film this, I think maybe 6 or 7 regular season games left, plus the Prep League tournament and hopefully the state tournament. I certainly imagine you're not quite close to 1,000 yet, but is that something on your mind for next year?
Oh yeah,
you'd like to have?
Yeah, I definitely want to hit 1,000 points. I just feel like it's a big milestone for a high school player to hit.
Nice. So compared to this season and past season, I guess last year for you, Mason, and sophomore or your junior year, Alex, how would you compare these seasons? What's different for?
I'll go first. I think it's this year it's definitely different for me because this is my leadership year, I guess to say. Last year's I felt like I've taken a little bit of a backseat with that, but this year I feel like I'm coming in my own for leadership and leading the team through different games and practices and such.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing for me. I mean, I'm not a captain or anything, but I definitely have a bigger role in the team than I was last year. Last year I was just a new kid. I was a transfer, so I mean, I feel like I was just kind of trying to blend in with everyone, but I feel like this year I'm definitely stepping up and just trying to take control of the team.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you something right now, Mason, that I haven't told you this. This is the first time you're hearing this, but at the Stab game last week, obviously a very tough opponent. You guys gave them a heck of a game before falling short, but a friend of mine was sitting behind our bench and texted me during the game, and it's Mason is showing so much leadership every time out, every huddle, keeping the team going. So even though you're not a captain, I mean, this is someone who is not a current Trinity parent and just happened to be at the game. I think they have a child in middle school and they're kind of thinking about high school stuff, but they were really impressed with you. So good job on that.
Thank you.
So this season, it seems to me, and this might have to really think about this answer, but it seems to me when y'all are playing your A game, this is a very good team. You look at a nearly 30-point win against Cape Henry, who's a pretty talented team. A very decisive win against VES, who's a pretty solid team. Last night, you go to Woodbury, a good team who was on a big winning streak prior to this week, into their gym, a place that I don't think you guys had won in your careers, and get a ultimately pretty decisive road win against a good opponent. So, your A game is as good as anybody, even playing Stab toe-to-toe for 3.5 quarters. Then there have been nights when things are not clicking. Certainly at St. Christopher's after the first quarter and a half was rough, or a couple other games like Benedictine having I think a double-digit lead and not finishing the job. Same with Catholic. Can you explain like how you guys can be so good at times but then struggle? And is there a way to put your finger on that?
I think we play the best when we're moving the ball. We got a lot of people that can make plays, but even more than that, I feel like when we move the ball, people like me and Mason get more open shots. And then along with that, I think defense, sometimes our energy lacks, which kind of plays into having not as good defense. But when the defense is going, I think that propels the offense as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also going to say, like, we were a pretty young team. Like, we got, like, 3 freshmen, and, like, all 3 of them play, like, pretty important minutes, and an 8th grader, too. So I feel like a lot of it's just, like, inexperience, and I feel like since we're, like, later in the season now, like, they're kind of, like, catching on to it a little bit. So it's just, like, I feel like we're, like, kind of, like, picking it up a little bit now. It's just, like, they're really getting used to it this season.
Speaking of the youth on the team, I have this thought, and for our fans of the TESPN podcast, we have an idea for maybe later this winter or early spring to have a bunch of the freshman varsity athletes on for a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So thinking about the youth on your team, the 3 9th graders and the 8th grader, like how do you think they would do being interviewed? You think they're ready for that?
I think they are. They got some personality. So.
Yeah,
There's definitely a 9th grader on the JV team that I think is more than ready for that. Would love to talk about himself. Mason, you might know who I'm talking about.
I think I do.
All right, I want to ask you all, one of the great things about high school sports and basketball in particular, and Trinity basketball in particular, is there's a few games you can count on every year where you're going to get to play in a really special environment. We kind of have our 3 biggest rivals, Benedictine, St. Christopher's Collegiate, and those games are pretty much, no matter what the team's records are, no matter how the season's going, when you play those teams, you know the gym's going to be packed, the student sections are going to be into it. You played each of the 3 teams I just mentioned once, and the Collegiate and Benedictine games both went overtime. I mean, we're really back and forth, could have gone either way. You get to play all 3 of those teams again, and I just wanted to ask what, for you all, it's like playing in those games when like the gym is packed, the opposing fans are saying not kind things to you. Your fans are doing everything they can to propel you forward. Just what's it like to play in those games?
Yeah, I know the energy's going to be there every time. It might be a little chaotic, Some people may not be hitting shots as much, but when I look back in high school, I feel like those are the games I'm going to remember the most. And so, like when I'm playing in those games, I just want to take it all in, be grateful for that atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to say it's like those are like the funnest games because it's like all your friends are there watching you. It's just like it's always so close because it's just like so intense. And I just think those are the best games to play.
Yeah, you said the funnest games. I mean, I don't know if you all got a chance to hear the interview we did with Armando Baycott at the Benedictine game last week. But and if anyone watching this, you found this video, you can find that video on our YouTube page. But he starts off by saying, I play in the Duke-UNC rivalry now, but I actually think Trinity Benedictine is better. He actually says that on the interview. I promise. You can look it up. And he said his funnest, that you used using that word, Mason, that word funnest, reminded me, that's exactly what he said. He said, my funnest memories of high school were the games against Benedictine. And then he mentioned going undefeated in his 7 or 8 games against them. So that's a challenge for that you guys can try and get one back on them here in a couple weeks. But and then just as a follow-up to that, because I know like last Tuesday had the Benedictine game, it went to overtime. It was I mean, we're not neutrals, but if you were just a neutral fan, like what an entertaining game, back and forth, incredible energy, incredible atmosphere. And then the next night, after that ultimately heartbreaking loss, you play another non-conference game in a practically empty gym. For you all as leaders, how were you able to motivate the team? Because I was really concerned about that Life Christian game the next day, just that it would be a real flat spot after getting up for a couple emotional games in a row with Collegiate and Benedictine, and yet you all handled business against a fairly talented Life Christian team. How did you get the guys ready for that game?
Yeah, I think it was about turning the page. I think we should have won against Benedictine, but you got to move on. You can take it as motivation rather than getting in your feels or feeling down on loss. But focusing on game by game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like a good way to like redeem ourselves after it was a close game, and I just feel like like after that, like we're like, this is like when you make a statement here and like get ready for collegiate on Friday.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing where as a player or a coach, I maybe even said it on the broadcast at the end of the Benedictine game, it's when you actually are like, thank God we have a game tomorrow. And we don't have to sit with this for a week. That's one cool thing I think about basketball versus when I think about football. Football, if you have a heartbreaking loss, like it sits with you for the full week because you only play once a week. So it's kind of nice in basketball with 2 to 3 games a week. You got to turn that page pretty quickly.
Yeah.
All right, I got one last question, and then Sophia's going to run our lightning round here at the end. But it's about individual improvement. Alex, I mean, I think you are an incredible example for any young player on how you expanded your game from being pretty much thought of as just a shooter as a 10th grader. And now you're getting to the rim, you're finishing through contact. But even more importantly to me, I think, your ball handling and your defense have come so far, and I think are things you take a lot of pride in.
Yeah.
And Mason, for you, even compared to last year, I feel like you've expanded your range, or even this season, you're having some free throw struggles earlier in the year, and that's something it seems like you're really connecting on a huge percentage of those now, as well as just your ability to finish around the basket, which is kind of always been there, at least as far as I've known you. But can you each speak to the efforts you put in to improve those parts of your game that were weaknesses, and how do you make them strengths? What did you go through that nobody saw?
Yeah, I feel like I always knew I had the potential to be, better than I was. And so just staying consistent in the gym, trying to work on those deficiencies, and also just like letting my body develop, getting bigger, getting taller, just staying consistent in the gym. I knew I could be better.
What the weight room?
I mean, I'm still working on that. But.
Yeah, I was gonna say like same thing. Like I was just in the gym like every day since the season ended, just like working on my shot, just like trying to become more of a versatile player instead of just like a finisher, and it just like helps my game.
All right, Sophia, sorry, I have one more for Alex that because I always when we have a college commit, I like to ask him about that process, and this is our first time we've talked to Alex since he recently committed to Lafayette. So before you get the fun lightning round with Sophia, Alex, I gotta hear about how the recruiting process went, why Lafayette, and what you're most looking forward to about the next chapter of your basketball and academic career.
Yeah, so I started talking to them kind of towards the end of the summer. Had assistant coaches come down for a few workouts, and then finally head coach came down to see me, and they liked me a lot. And then when I took the tour there, I thought it was just like the perfect spot for me and my family. Really good academic school, really good coaching, great league for me. And so I just thought it was the perfect spot, so committed on the spot right there.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
We're really, really proud of you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm done. Go ahead, Sophia. Take it from here.
So, rapid fire questions. It's going to be a short round, but okay. Favorite hype song?
Ooh, you go first.
All right, Icon by Jaden.
Man.
For this rapid fire. you gotta
Rapid
answer.
fire.
Okay, Over by Drake.
All right. Home or away games?
Home. Like,
Yeah.
I think away. I'll be different.
Exactly. What's your favorite jersey combination?
I like the blue.
Yeah.
yeah, I like that too.
Yeah.
All right. Pre-game snack or drink?
Tropical smoothie.
There you go.
I have like cereal, and then I'll eat a few fruit snacks before the game.
I had one more, but I completely forgot it. But
All right, let's finish with this one.
Go.
Mason, you play your brother Maddox 1-on-1 to 11. What's your score prediction?
11-2.
He's beating you that bad?
I'm winning.
Of course you are. Of course you are. Sophia, thank you. Our
Thank you.
SGA president and TESPN president coming in front of the camera this time. And thanks to Mason and Alex. We'll
Thank you.
look forward to catching you all over at Collegiate tomorrow night, and a bunch of big games. Now we've flipped the page to February. I always talk about in college basketball, they talk about March Madness, but high school seasons are remembered by what happened in February. Today's the first day of February. Check these guys out for the rest of the month as they hope to stack wins together down the stretch. We'll see you next time.